What's up? I'm Lily Revenge Crown, brings you the stories that keep you hooked. If that sounds good, smash subscribe and let's go.
The Thanksgiving table was set with my mother's good china. The set she'd inherited from her mother and only brought out for holidays. 23 people crammed into a dining room designed for 12, passing dishes of stuffing and sweet potatoes while pretending we all liked each other. The annual Martinez family tradition of forced gratitude and thinly veiled judgment. I'd arrived late as usual. Not because I wanted to make an entrance, but because I'd been on a video call with my UK publisher finalizing cover designs. My mother had given me that look when I walked in. The one that said I was disappointing her again, that I couldn't even prioritize family for one day. My brother Derek was already holding court at the center of the table, regaling our cousins with stories about his new apartment in the city. 2 bedrooms, exposed brick right in the heart of downtown. Rents $2,400 a month but totally worth it. You should see the view. Our Aunt Gloria made impressed noises. Our Uncle Frank asked about square footage. My mother beamed at Derek like he'd cured cancer instead of signing a lease. I took my assigned seat at the far end of the table between my teenage cousin who was glued to her phone and my grandfather who was going deaf. Perfect positioning for being completely ignored. Aunt Marie arrived fashionably late, sweeping in with a bottle of expensive wine and apologies about traffic. She was my mother's younger sister, the one who'd moved to New York 20 years ago and worked in publishing. The one who actually read books instead of just displaying them on coffee tables. She caught my eye as she settled into her seat and winked. My stomach dropped. The turkey was being passed around, everyone filling their plates and complimenting my mother's cooking, when Aunt Marie's voice cut through the chatter. "Emma, how's life after that $1.8 million book deal?" The serving spoon clattered against the gravy boat. Derek stopped mid-sentence, his mouth hanging open with a piece of roll visible. My mother's smile froze on her face. My father, who'd been reaching for the cranberry sauce, went completely still. "What book?" my mother whispered, but the dining room had gone so quiet that everyone heard. I calmly buttered my roll, taking my time to spread it evenly to the edges. Aunt Marie was grinning now, clearly enjoying herself. "The 3-book deal with Penguin Random House," she continued, accepting the turkey platter from my uncle. "I saw the publisher's marketplace announcement last month. Largest debut deal they've made this year. Emma's novel hasn't even released yet and they've already optioned it for film. Netflix, I think? Or was it HBO? Amazon," I said quietly. "Amazon Studios." My mother set down her fork with shaking hands. "Emma, what is she talking about?" I took a bite of my roll. Chewed. Swallowed. Set it down carefully on my plate. "Aunt Marie is talking about the book deal I signed in September. 3 books, $1.8 million advance. The first one publishes in April." The silence that followed was so complete I could hear my grandfather's hearing aid whistling. Derek found his voice first. "You wrote a book?" "I've written 3 books. Well, 2.5. The 3rd is due to my editor in February." "What kind of book?" This from my father, his face pale. "Literary thriller. It's about a forensic psychologist who discovers her own therapist is a serial killer." Aunt Marie practically bounced in her seat. "It's absolutely brilliant. I read the manuscript when Emma sent it to me last year. I connected her with my colleague at Penguin. They started a bidding war. 5 publishers competed. Emma had her pick." My mother's knuckles were white around her water glass. "You sent your book to Marie? You didn't tell us you were writing." "I told you 3 years ago. When I first started. You said it was a nice hobby." "Hobby?" My mother's voice went up an octave. "You said you were writing in your spare time." "I was. After my day job. Weekends. Holidays. I wrote the first draft in 6 months, revised it for another 8, sent it to Aunt Marie, got an agent, and spent a year on submission before the deal came through." Derek was doing math on his fingers. "Wait. 3 years. You've been working on this for 3 years and never mentioned it." "I mentioned it constantly. You just never listened." Aunt Marie passed me the mashed potatoes, still smiling. "Emma's being modest. The book is extraordinary. Early reviews are calling it Gone Girl meets Silence of the Lambs. There's already talk of awards. And the film option? $750,000 against $1 million if it goes into production." My father made a choking sound. $750,000? That's separate from the book advance. I clarified. The $1.8 million is just for the publishing rights. My mother stood up so abruptly her chair scraped against the hardwood floor. Excuse me. I need a moment. She disappeared into the kitchen. My father followed. The remaining family members stared at me like I'd spontaneously grown wings. Derek's girlfriend, a woman he'd been dating for 3 weeks and insisted on bringing to Thanksgiving, leaned forward. So you're like rich now? I'm comfortable. How comfortable? Derek's voice had an edge to it. Marie jumped in. Well, after agent commission and taxes, Emma probably netted around $900,000 from the advance. The film option is another $400,000 or so after everyone takes their cut. Plus there's foreign rights. The book sold in 22 countries. And then there's the royalties once it publishes. Stop, Derek said. Just stop. This is insane. Emma works at a library. I work as a reference librarian 3 days a week, I corrected. It pays the bills and gives me access to research materials. The rest of my time I write. Why didn't you tell us it was successful? There was the question that mattered. Not congratulations. Not I'm proud of you. But why didn't you tell us you were making money? I set down my fork carefully. I did tell you. 18 months ago when I got my agent I said I was going on submission to publishers. Mom said that was nice and asked if I'd gained weight. Last year at Christmas when I got the offer I said I'd sold my book. Dad said he hoped I hadn't quit my real job. 6 months ago when the film option came through, I mentioned I was talking to producers. Derek said Hollywood was full of scammers and I should be careful. My Aunt Gloria, who'd been silent until now, spoke up. Emma, honey, we didn't know it was this serious. Because you didn't ask. You never ask. My cousin Rachel, the phone-obsessed teenager, was frantically typing. Oh my God. There's a whole thing about this on Twitter. Debut author Emma Martinez signs massive 3-book deal. There's pictures of you at some book event. She turned her phone around. The photo showed me at a publishing industry party in New York, standing between my agent and my editor holding a cocktail and smiling. I was wearing a black dress I'd bought specifically for the occasion. I looked happy, successful. Nothing like the quiet, overlooked daughter my family knew. Derek grabbed the phone. When was this? October. Publishing industry party. The week before my book went up for auction. You went to New York and didn't tell anyone? I go to New York every month. I have meetings with my publisher. My agent is based there. I'm working with a film development team. My mother returned from the kitchen, her eyes red. My father trailed behind her, looking lost. She stood at the head of the table, gripping the back of her chair. Emma, I don't understand. If you had this kind of opportunity, this kind of success, why wouldn't you share it with your family? I looked at her, really looked at her, and felt something crack open in my chest. Not anger. Not resentment. Just a deep, bone-tired exhaustion. Because you never cared about my writing. You cared about Derek's apartment and his job and his girlfriend. You cared about Rachel's grades and volleyball tournaments. You cared about making sure Thanksgiving dinner was perfect and the house looked good for guests. You didn't care about the thing I spent 3 years pouring my heart into. That's not fair. Isn't it? How many times did I mention my writing? How many times did I say I was working on revisions or meeting with my critique group? And how many times did you actually ask me about it? Not just say, "That's nice, dear," and change the subject. Actually ask. Silence. That's what I thought. Aunt Marie cleared her throat. For what it's worth, Emma sent me chapters because I asked. I asked what she was working on. I asked to read pages. I asked about her process and her goals. And when I read her manuscript, I knew it was special. So I helped because that's what you do when someone you love is talented. My mother's voice trembled. I love Emma. I know you do, Mom. But you love the version of me that fits your expectations. The quiet daughter who works at the library and doesn't make waves. You don't know what to do with this version. The one who negotiated a 7-figure deal and turned down an offer from Simon & Schuster because Penguin's marketing plan was better. Derek was still staring at his phone, scrolling through articles about my deal. There's a whole Publishers Weekly interview. You talked about your inspiration, your writing process. You never told me any of this. You never asked, Derek. You've spent the last year telling me about your job in marketing and your apartment search and your gym routine. I've heard every detail of your life. Did you ever once ask me about mine? His face flushed. I didn't know it was important to you. My writing is the most important thing in my life. It's been my dream since I was 7 years old. Remember? I used to write stories and make you listen to them. You said they were boring. I was 10. And you're 32 now. Still not asking. My father finally spoke, his voice rough. What's the book about, Emma? I almost laughed. After everything, now he wanted to know. It's about a woman who realizes the person she's been trusting to help her heal is actually the source of her trauma. It's about gaslighting and manipulation and finding the strength to see the truth even when everyone around you says you're wrong. The metaphor wasn't subtle. My father had the grace to look away. Aunt Marie raised her wine glass. I'd like to propose a toast. To Emma, whose talent and persistence paid off in spectacular fashion. May your book be a massive bestseller and may Hollywood do it justice. A few people raised their glasses awkwardly. Most just stared. I took a sip of wine and set the glass down. I should probably tell you the rest. There's more. My mother looked like she might faint. I bought a house. 3 bedrooms, home office in the neighborhood I've been renting in for 5 years. I close next week. Derek made a strangled sound. You bought a house. With what money? The advance. Well, part of it. I put down 40%. 40%? He did the math. That's more than my annual salary. Yes, it is. My mother sat down heavily. Why didn't you ask us to go house hunting with you? I could have helped. Because the last time I mentioned looking at houses, Dad said I should wait until I was married so my husband could help with the mortgage. I'm not waiting for a hypothetical husband to build my life, Dad. I'm building it myself. Emma, that's not what I meant. Wasn't it? You've spent my entire adult life waiting for me to do the things you think I should do. Get married. Have kids. Work a real job with benefits. I did none of those things. Instead, I wrote a book. 3 books. I built a career you didn't even know existed. And I did it all while you were focused on Derek's perfectly acceptable, perfectly conventional life. Derek stood up. That's not fair. I didn't ask for any of this. You're right. You didn't ask. You just took their attention, their pride, their financial support. Meanwhile, I've been paying my own way since college, putting myself through grad school for my library degree, writing novels at 5 a.m. before my shifts, and never once asking them for help because I knew I wouldn't get it. Not the way you did. That's enough. My father's voice was sharp. This is Thanksgiving. Family time. Can we please just eat dinner? I looked around the table. At my parents who looked shocked and hurt. At Derek who looked angry and defensive. At my cousins and aunts and uncles who looked fascinated by the drama. At Aunt Marie who gave me an encouraging nod. Actually, I think I'm going to go. Emma, no. My mother reached for me. I stood up, grabbing my purse. Thank you for dinner, Mom. I'm sorry I can't stay. I have a call with my UK publisher in 2 hours and I need to prep. On Thanksgiving? Publishing is international. Holidays don't stop contracts. I walked toward the door. Aunt Marie followed, grabbing her coat. Marie, you're leaving too? My mother's voice cracked. I'm driving Emma home. We have publishing business to discuss. In the car, Aunt Marie didn't say anything for the first 10 minutes. Just drove, letting me decompress. Finally, she spoke. How do you feel? Honestly, relieved. I've been carrying that secret for 18 months. Waiting for the right time to tell them. But there was never going to be a right time. They were never going to react well. They'll come around. Once they process it. Will they? Or will they just find new ways to minimize it? Oh, writing isn't a real career. But when are you getting married? Derek's job has better benefits. Aunt Marie smiled sadly. Maybe. People have a hard time adjusting their perception of someone they think they know. They don't know me at all. That's the problem. We pulled up to my apartment, soon to be my former apartment. Boxes were already stacked in the corner, ready for the move. Emma. Aunt Marie said as I unbuckled my seatbelt. For what it's worth, I'm incredibly proud of you. Not just for the book deal, though that's extraordinary, but for doing it on your own terms. For not letting their expectations limit you. Thanks, Aunt Marie. For everything. For reading my pages. For connecting me with your colleague. For believing in me. That's what family should do. I watched her drive away, then went inside. My phone was already buzzing. Texts from my mother, my father, Derek. All variations of "we need to talk" and "please come back." I silenced the phone and opened my laptop. The UK publisher call was in 90 minutes. After that, I had revisions to review for book 2. And somewhere in there, I needed to finish packing. My family wanted to talk. They wanted to process and understand and probably convince me I was being too harsh. But I had a career to build. Books to write. A future that I'd created myself without their permission or approval. They'd spent 30 years not asking about my life. I was done waiting for them to start.